back to the Ed Show. Here is overt sexism.
The Clinton campaign has issued a list of words and terms to the drive-by media in the form of a threatening email to a New York Times infobabe, telling them these are the words you cannot use to describe Mrs. Clinton. One word that's not on the list is cankles. I guess everybody in the media is free to use the word cankles.
A new email warning journalists about their coverage of Hillary Clinton has sparked a heated debate. John West, a member in a group of Hillary Clinton supporters, contacted several media outlets about what he saw as unfair language in their reporting. In an email titled, "Your Obsession and Loathsome Coverage," West highlighted the coded language of sexism and innuendo. His email slams commentary on Clinton's age and looks. West listed words like secretive, polarizing, calculating, and ambitious as coded attacks. He concludes by writing, "You are on notice that we will be watching, reading, listening, and protesting coded sexism." A New York Times reporter shared sections of the email on her Twitter feed, and the story broke wide open. The email has received sharp criticism for walking the line between watchdog and thought police. John West is a member of the HRC Super Volunteers, which congregates through a private Facebook and a Twitter group. The Super Volunteers are not affiliated with Clinton or her team. West is not the spokesperson for the group. But folks are talking. What are the guidelines here? Joining me tonight in our rapid response panel, Kim Frederick, a Hillary Clinton supporter and is also a member of that group. Also with us tonight, Ruth Conniff, editor-in-chief of the Progressive Magazine, and Dr. Caroline Heldman, professor of politics at Occidental College. Professor, let's start with you first tonight if we can. Are we seeing some guidelines that we haven't seen or heard in other campaigns? Because this is Hillary's second time around. Well, your take on what is being put out there by Clinton supporters?
Well, Ed, I'm glad to see that they're preemptively addressing this because we've known it's a problem since Elizabeth Dole's bid in 2000. She had the same coded sexist coverage. I found it again with presidential candidate Sarah Palin. And of course, during the 2008 primary, Clinton faced a lot of sexism. So I am happy to see that there is a group raising awareness about this issue before we head into the election.
Kim Frederick, what is the mission here?
Yes.
You agree with John West's email? What's the mission here?
I agree with the intent of his email. I think that when we see articles such as the New York Times showing a picture of a mobile phone squashing her, depicting her as the Wicked Witch of the West, or even Lawrence O'Donnell saying about the email situation that she may leave the situation room and come out and ask through email her husband advice. I mean, I think it's coded and veiled as sexism. So, we definitely want to pay attention, and we're glad that
How is that coded? Because she might do that. I got to ask you, Kim, how would that be coded?
Would you ask Colin
Because,
Powell?
my colleague Lawrence O'Donnell offered us... Wait a minute. Let's face it. Every president has advisors in times of pressure situations. I don't think that Hillary Clinton should be apologizing for being married to a former president who was a global figure. Right. Why not use that resource? That's how I view it. But how would that be coded in some way?
Well, it's one thing to use that resource, but to say that she's in the Situation Room and she is not qualified as Secretary of State to handle it herself, that she would then need to ask the opinion of her husband. Maybe if he said the opinion of the former President Bill Clinton, maybe that would be different. But we wouldn't see, Colin Powell coming out and people asking if he's asked his wife. So that's how it's different.
All right, Ruth Conniff, do these messages to the media help or hurt the Clinton campaign, even though they say they're not connected to it? Your thoughts?
Well, they're not connected, and I think if they were connected, they wouldn't have done this because I think it hurts the campaign. Hillary Clinton and anybody who's in communications knows that the last thing you want to do is tell a bunch of journalists what words they can and cannot use. So, in fact, I think this does a lot of damage both to Hillary and also to the cause of doing something about sexism, which is real in coverage of female candidates. But you don't do that by giving journalists a list of words that they can and can't use, particularly such an expansive list that labels as sexism something things that are the kinds of terms that are commonly used for political candidates of both genders. So I think it was Bush League. I think it was done by this guy who's, runs a landscaping business in Chicago and has a Facebook page, and that's not the campaign, and I think it is a big disaster, frankly, for Hillary.
Professor, respond to that.
Well, I would agree that it's Bush League, and I agree that there are definitely words on that list that I do not think are coded sexism. I think they are used for both genders. However, we're talking about it right now, and this is different than any other previous campaign where all of these female candidates, the closer they got to the White House, the more sexism they faced in coverage. I think it's great that we're having this conversation. At least they put it on the agenda.
Well, media police, let me go forward. Is this the way it's going to be, Kim, if Hillary Clinton is elected president? I mean, I don't see how this helps the Clinton campaign at all. They should go ahead.
Yeah, I don't consider myself I'm a consumer of news, and I think that the average American citizen is a little bit smarter and wiser today to understand what is happening in the media in general. I think what you call Jon Stewart, part of the media police. I mean, I think there are ways to report on this that don't have to have, sexism. And I'm not saying it's even intentional. Sexism has been a part of our dynamic for many decades and centuries, if not. And I think that a lot of the times it's unintentional. I mean, even women do it. So we're just trying to draw attention to this so that maybe we don't have this problem this time around.
I'm going to finish this segment by asking all three of you the same question. If Hillary Clinton does more for women's rights, and it's pointed out by the media, is that sexist reporting? I mean, we do not have equal pay. Women's rights are under attack. And if she makes this a focal point of her campaign, and believe me, we don't know where she stands on trade. We don't know how far she's going to go on the environment. And we really don't know what her economic package is since 2008. So there's going to be a lot of passionate debates. But if she puts women's issues front and forward, is that sexist if the media presents that? Professor, what about that?
No, absolutely not. Talking about her issue positions that she's putting out there is not sexist. Sexism is talking about focusing on dress or appearance, negative coverage that is gendered, or going after her competency. Those are, or talking about ambition. That's sexism, not talking about her policy positions.
So if I were to say that Hillary Clinton has a very ambitious agenda when it comes to women's rights, that would be sexist? I mean, well, I would champion that.
No, okay. Discussing her ambition in a negative sense, which we tend to do with candidates, female candidates, right? Because women aren't supposed to be ambitious. They did this throughout her 2008 election, and I assume they'll do it throughout this election as well.
Ruth, quickly give us a thought on that.
I just think that the best approach to this is a positive approach. I think to be inspiring to women and men, to show that women's leadership is a great thing and a positive thing, and not to try to be the thought police, but just to get out there and promote a positive message, I think is really the only answer. I think it's reasonable that women should write letters in droves if they see sexist coverage, but this is not the way to go.
All right, Kim Frederick, Ruth Conniff, Caroline Hellman, great to have you with us. Coming up, the candidate who wants to challenge the